Testing. Microphone check. Move my mic. Checking. Microphone level check. So, currently looking at the climate reanalyzer.org. Southern Hemisphere sea ice extent. You see this very worrying line here is the lowest amount of sea ice that has been on record is on a decline. Not just that this is curving down, it's heading downwards. We're seeing very large pieces of sea ice bob around and smash into things. When you get to an iceberg that's 50 miles wide and we don't actually know how deep it goes, the deeper it goes, the worse it gets for creatures like penguins. Penguin killer. They can't go around it and they can't go underneath it. It's still moving towards them. Because this ice hasn't stopped moving except when it smashed into the South Shetland Islands, creating a sizable earthquake. Very peculiar region. After that, the ice has been moving slowly, but it's heading in the open ocean, and it is the largest free-floating body of fresh water on the planet. We just allow it to melt in the South Atlantic. I mean, how would you even harvest anything like that? I don't even think we could. I don't even think we would have the technology or manpower to slow it down. People might. The thing is, you don't know how deep it goes. So if any kind of operation were to try to get on it, and they just realize too late that it's going to just do one of these, break off, or it's just going to just a lot of different motions in the ocean that is possible, depending on how deep this iceberg that we're going to look at later go into. But there's plenty of other ones that we'll look into. What we'll try to do is these fits in this puzzle here. A lot of that because when sections of Antarctica, its ice shelf, break off, it's floating, and unless it upends itself and it's still floating away, unless the surface of it is melted a great deal, you're still going to see all these patterns and striations that'll tell you where this piece might have came from. A lot of rivers and channels where the fresh water would melt the snow and ice going over it, making it more of a hardening process for the surface of Antarctica, at least what you expect. You expect to just step on like 5 feet of snow, 2 feet of ice. But right now it's at the lowest amount of sea ice on record, after the lowest sea ice produced, recorded. Without having these seas freeze, is a lot of this water, and it warms up a lot of Antarctica. But even then, this is not the only one that we're going to be looking at here. This is sea ice extent. And over here, take a look at since July. You can see the sea ice concentration as it wobbles, a really healthy wobble. But July was the hottest month on record, so it would take time for that temperature to drive itself into the ice. July, August. Start seeing a lot of thinning happening in the south. September 2023, Antarctica. It's the Antarctic, all below the line of Antarctic. October 2023. Massive changes happening in the southwest. November 2023. Pretty dramatic changes happening in the northeast. Extreme dramatic changes. Incremental dramatic changes. The incremental changes can be dramatic too. And now for December, up until the last date, the 25th, 26th they have. Now, this is what we are currently seeing. 25th. You can see at least 30% or more of its sea ice, its skirt around the actual continents. That's sea ice that bumps up to the line of Antarctic, to a shelf, to a plate, to something that is ice. And this still is not the most worrying trend. This is bad. But what this shows here is even more damning. This is the area of selection, is tropics, the line of the tropics. As you can see here, this dark bold line here is 2023. Below that line is another line, the only other line around here with a similar pattern, and that was 2015. Doesn't mean that we're out of the woods. It really means that this is the new normal. You can see here it's 1.1 C plus 1.1 C is the anomaly. 1.1 C was also the anomaly in 2015. Does that mean that the anomaly has been present since 2015? No. It just means that year 1.1 C was seen. You can say that was a warning. That hasn't happened again. We've had several years now that are just been half that. But this year has been the hottest on average since July. The hottest year on every since July. And after July, it only got hotter, and the averages, as you can see here, spiked just as much as they would on a normal curve, except until it got to September, and it just went the other way. These trends are moving in ways that are detrimental to life as we know it on this planet, because everything involves heat, moisture. This dries out a lot of the areas that will cause a climate shift. See a lot of 3 months of rain in a few days, a lot of precipitation, a lot of ice melt, a lot of fresh water being introduced into the ocean. These are problems that we're seeing right now, that we're facing right now. I don't think humanity has any kind of tools to be able to push this iceberg back into place, or at least so it doesn't take over the South Georgian Islands. I believe they are. South Georgia and South Sandwich Islands. There it is. It's 75, 80 kilometers wide, 50 miles wide, currently floating into the open ocean. This is unprecedented, but there is no record of such an iceberg escaping its zone and going into the open ocean. There are a lot of questions that I would have regarding this, but I don't think polar science, I imagine, would have to have been at least funded over the last few years. This should be just every station all the time, iceberg watch. It's A82 something A, I think. I don't know how you would designate this iceberg. This thing is, its surface is just ready to fall off, like fake skin on chicken. It's unprecedented in the ways that how it moves, it jostles, is it gonna bob? Is it just gonna break in half? Is the right arm segment that's like a sofa chair? It just feels like it's just gonna slide right off. Now this is a better representation of what we're looking at here. Instead of being a blurry photo, we can actually see quite stunning detail. 80 kilometers. See here, this line. We have this segment here, this here, and then this could fracture, break off as well. And the rest of this could become pretty violent as it kicks back and it responds to the amount of pressure and strength used against it. How many tons of this is going to fall into the ocean that's going to start a chain reaction of steam, of hot bath? Because as this goes up deeper into the South Atlantic, it's going to experience a warmer climate almost immediately. Once it passes that line of Antarctic, I don't know what's going to happen to this. Is it going to run aground again and bump? Or is it just going to continue into the South Atlantic until it is at risk of hitting other land? We don't know how large, how deep this iceberg goes. These fracture lines might only be superficial on the surface because we don't know how deep these lines actually go through this iceberg. I really don't want to call it an iceberg since it's the size of a little country. But a lot of fresh water that's built up into this thing, and it's the largest freshwater entity on the planet. I can't imagine people are just going to ignore it. There's no way of stopping it or harvesting it. something would be so alien right now, but not unexpected. You take a look at this little. Unless it doesn't want us to. Ah, there it goes. Now it starts to turn. Turn. This is an area, I mean, like you can see the segment is usually lined up. Part that is broken. Like this. This the sledgehammer was taken to these features. Little ice section right here. Another giant iceberg on the move. See that break? Just broke off right here and went out. Pretty significant looking cracks, fractures. They might have always been there for a long time. Let's see how many thousands of icebergs make up this image here. They could all be locked in place, unmoving, and with the water as it plays, they act as plates. These look like they're freely rotating in sections. That's big. And just about 70 kilometers. Pretty big. And I believe that is all the new scans for the day. Look at right here. $40 kilometers, about half that. I believe that's everything for this time. This incremental update regarding sea ice conditions around Antarctic. Leave on this. Sea ice concentration plummets. More sea ice moving away. Puts a lot of the scientific research bases at risk as well. Please, if you haven't already, like and subscribe to the video. And I will be back with another video here shortly. Thank you.